Tiffany Turned On. I'm your host, Tiffany Anton. I'm a psychotherapist specializing in sex and relationships. I hope to help you get turned on in life as well as inside of your bedroom. This is part 3 of the shocking sex facts. If you missed part 2, you really missed out in hearing about Norma Stitz. Her tits are 106XXX, as well as hearing about Jonah Falcone and how large his penis actually is. Valid and important parts of our discussion in the second section was how sex can improve your health and save your life. Listen to part 3 for more fun and shocking facts. You may not be as frisky as you once were, but sex should still be a part of your identity, no matter what age. Well, adults.
Yeah.
So if you're 80 and you're in a relationship, go ahead and be sexual because it's going to be another portion of saving your life. It talked here about ED, so erectile dysfunction, which I like to talk about as erectile disappointment, and then vaginal dryness are keeping you from being sexually active, and there's treatments available. So I was looking at one of the fact sheets, 6 odd and bizarre sex facts that will blow your mind. It said here, older people have great sex too. Total fact, right? That's not challenged. It is a popular and sad myth that as you age, sex goes out the window. The truth is, in that most cases, older people can have great sex. Sex is great, and menopause has nothing to do with it. What? I went to scream at that statement, and I thought it was probably written by a man.
Or a non-vulva owner.
And I know I'm being a little bit sexist, but we do see the role that gender plays in some of this information.
Yes, most definitely. Because what do women who are going through perimenopause or menopause all complain about? Pain, discomfort, dryness, lack of desire. Yeah, that sounds like fun to me.
Well, when we look at aging, and I'm going to talk about vulva owners, is that with our hormonal changes, without our ovaries regulating our system, we can have distinct changes in our vulva and in our breasts. I remember being an undergrad and they said that vaginal atrophy was bullshit and it was just created. I really disagree with that. The lining of your vaginal canal, your inner lips of the labia minora, it can become like tissue paper thin and rip easy and feel like a stinging, burning sensation. Sex and menopause, I want to do a whole podcast over that because it's vital.
I think that would be a great topic.
In looking at go without sex for a while, it can increase then clitoral atrophy, which interferes with sensation.
Ugh.
So we have sensation change with hormones in general, then our ovaries shut down, and we can have clitoral atrophy. So we know that in the vaginal canal, let's just kind of keep it open. If we're interested in penetration, even if you think I'm going to be single for 10 more years, you want to be able to keep that skin open, relax, get some of the Replens so you can have some of the moisturizer inside. But we can lose sensation as we age.
Disappointing.
Because I got a little pissy about it. Says menopause makes no difference. There's an article in Aging and Relationships called How Sex Changes After Menopause. With no need to worry about getting your period, becoming pregnant, or being walked in on by your kids, postmenopausal sex life should be stellar, right? Can be, but don't expect it to be the same type of sex that you were having in your 20s. And that's by a psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins. While you may have greater freedom at home, this is also a stage in life with a lot of changes. Redefining our roles, we're empty nesters, and our bodies are changing. Our estrogen takes a nosedive. So with the change of hormones has a big impact. It can lower our desire, make it more difficult to become aroused, the vaginal canal less stretchy, dry, painful intercourse. More than a third of women in perimenopause or who are postmenopausal have sexual difficulties from a lack of interest in sex, sexual pain, and trouble experiencing an orgasm. The author says here that less intercourse is natural, even though we tend to look at sex as it has to include penetration. And despite what the media and prescription drug commercials would have you believe, intercourse later in life is pleasurable for couples as it used to be, but our body changes, so the level of pleasure can be less. And so don't be too shocked or disappointed. And then working with your doctors, working with sex therapists, we can talk in detail about ways to kind of keep blood flowing in your vulva, keep it moisturized just to reduce that thinning in the lining. So what I would say is stay tuned to a whole podcast about menopause and sex to learn more. To me,
that sounds like a great subject.
Was not a fact.
No, it was not.
When we think about vulva owners and orgasm, we are much less likely to give ourselves penetration. But if we are, and we don't have a dildo around, what do you think is the most popular thing we would insert into our canal? So we don't have a dildo and we're not using our fingers.
A banana.
A candle.
Oh.
I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting to me.
And they specify an unlit candle. Well, unless you're doing something fun and kinky.
Yeah,
and you have a spotter there, someone that's spotting you in case of emergency. So yeah, after fingers and vibrators, candles are the phallic objects most often used by female masturbators. I think about like cucumbers.
Okay, yeah. Things that are around the house. I mean, I don't think, let's pull out. How many of us even have candles anymore?
Oh, I have tons of candles.
Yes, but they're
not
all
in glass.
Yeah, they're not. Mm-hmm. They're big candles. Like you get at Bath and Body. No.
Yeah.
Who has tapered candles?
Okay, the candles that I have here in glass, they are probably the circumference of John Holmes.
There you go. And that is not happening.
That's why he was called Reverse Birth. I hear in session, I don't want my partner to use a vibrator because I should be enough.
Give me a break.
Or if you use a vibrator, you're always going to have to use a vibrator.
That's not accurate either.
So what I say is our bodies love vibration. And penises enjoy vibration.
Sometimes you just got to mix stuff up. The same thing over and over again. You need
I think
variety.
Fall in love with the magic wand and incorporate it into your love play. The rose is pretty popular now too, or the bullet, but I just advocate old school magic wand. Yes.
Oh no, the one that plugs in the wall.
No, there's the one that plugs in the wall and then there's one that you charge.
Okay.
So I recommend the magic wands that are rechargeable just because they have more rhythm. I was thinking about vibrators and hysteria.
And hysteria?
Hysteria, yeah. What do you think with hysteria?
What do you mean? I'm not getting this conversation. Well, vibrators and hysteria.
Yes, the vibrator came out, the current one that we think of. So again, there are more historical information, but if we're looking at European vibrators.
Okay.
They were invented in the 19th century for body aches, for muscle aches and body aches. So the roots were antiseptic and clinical. Again, it was originally for muscle groups. They were then prescribed as a cure for the curious disease, hysteria. The device for decades found clinical application as a supposed medical therapy. Hysteria is a Greek word, uterus, and hysteria occurred in women with pent-up sexual energy, at least early healers and physicians believe. Nuns, widows, spinsters were particularly susceptible to hysteria by Victorian era. Many married women had fallen prey to hysteria as well. In the late 19th century, a pair of prominent physicians estimated that 3/4 of women were at risk. The prescription of a clitoral orgasm, which, people talk about clitoral, vaginal, cervical. I don't care. An orgasm is an orgasm. Does it feel good to your genitals? Is it safe, sane, consensual, respectful? Then just enjoy it. So the prescription of clitoral orgasm was a treatment for hysteria, dates to medical texts from the 1st century AD. Hysterical women typically turned to doctors who cured them with their hands by inducing a perioxium, term that hides what we now know as a sexual climax. Manual stimulation was time-consuming and tedious.
Oh, really?
Time-consuming and tedious.
Who knew?
In the book, The Technology of Orgasms, Hysteria, the Vibrator in Women's Sexual Satisfaction, the science historian Rachel Maines reports that physicians often pass the job off to midwives. Can you jack her off? She is just hysterical today. Come over here, I'll jack you off. Lay down, put the sheet over you, like you're at the OB-GYN. But then the invention of electricity made it much easier. So we've got this Granville guy. He patented the electromechanical vibrator in the early 1800s to, again, relieve muscle aches. And doctors soon realized it might be used on other parts of the body. So it was successful. It shortened the treatment time for hysteria, fattening doctors' wallets. Patients were happy happy too. Health spas were offering vibration therapy, and the service was so popular that vibrator manufacturers warned doctors not to overdo it with the modern appliance.
Wow.
If
Overdo it.
Yeah.
Huh?
If they met relentless patient demand, even mechanical vibration could be tiring. By the turn of the century, needlework catalogs advertised models for women who wanted to try the treatment at home, making the vibrator the fifth electric appliance to arrive in the home after the sewing machine, the fan, tea kettle, and the toaster. Now, it wasn't until 1952 that the American Psychiatric Association actually dropped the term hysteria from its list of diagnoses.
1952. Wow.
What do you think is the first thing people do after sex?
Go to the bathroom.
Well, that's what we got to do. We got to go to the bathroom after sex to reduce getting a UTI.
But other than go to the bathroom?
I would think that it would be like the afterglow. So we would, have post-coital cuddling. Yes.
That
so
would
we
be
have some
ideal.
kind of like holding each other, pillow talk. But there was a poll by the consumer electronics sites, Retrieva. 36% of people under the age of 35 check their social media right after.
What?
Yep, in this study. So the first thing I'm doing is peeing.
Yes.
The second thing I'm doing is jumping into bed.
Yes.
Maybe the fourth thing I'm doing is social media. I like the weather app too.
It's sad.
And I enjoy playing puzzle games on my phone.
But wouldn't you rather cuddle?
And my fourth thing actually wouldn't be sleep. That might be my sixth thing.
I can't sleep after good sex.
Can't sleep after good sex either. Who do you think gets laid more? Again, this is gendered. Do you think that it's women or men? Who gets laid more?
Women.
I would have made it a guy. Women have 17% more sex than the average guy.
I think it's just more available for the women.
You do?
Yeah. If the woman's up for it, she can find sex. Whereas a man... More easily than a man who wants sex. Woman, all she has to do is say, do you wanna? And the guy will be like, yes, let's.
Well, let's say 1 out of 5 guys. Because you won't get all the yeses. But you'll probably get 1 out of 5. Would you say 1 out of 3?
Probably.
Okay. I think that's probably better as well. Have you ever heard that sperm is a natural antidepressant?
Semen,
Yep.
by itself.
Is a natural antidepressant.
In what form?
Here it is. Here's a study. According to a study conducted on 293 female college students at the State University of New York in Albany, exposure to semen can lower symptoms of depression. And it's mighty healthy. 1 teaspoon of semen contains over 200 proteins and several helpful vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, calcium, chlorine, citric acid, fructose, lactic acid, magnesium, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, vitamin B12, and zinc. I take a multivitamin.
And are we talking about this just being absorbed vaginally, or are we talking about ingesting this?
I don't know, because you'd think of swallowing it, having it in your vagina, having it in your ass. It does not specify. Let me look it up.
I would think the only way you could get the full health benefit is if you swallowed.
Study at State University of New York, Albany. Sperm is an antidepressant. Here we go. This is from Albany, University of Albany study. The study conducted by UA Albany psychology professor Gordon Gallup found that females who were not using condoms for sexual intercourse were less depressed than females who did use condoms, possibly because when absorbed through the vagina, semen may have an effect on mood in women. So I'm guessing it didn't check out the swallowing or check out anal sex.
Very interesting to me.
Now, there's also a medical article here. Does semen have antidepressant properties?
Or is it just the fact that you're getting orgasms that's creating the dopamine in your brain?
Well, the oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin.
So is it the semen or is it the act?
Is it the companionship, feeling emotionally safe and connected to another human?
The intimacy.
So what these did is they had sexually active college female students with condom use and non-condom use, and then they utilized the Beck Depression Inventory Scale. Not only were females who were having sex without a condom less depressed, but depressive symptoms and suicide attempts among females who used condoms were proportional to the consistency of condom use. For females who did not use condoms, depression scores went up as the amount of time since their last sexual encounter increased. These data are consistent with the possibility that semen may antagonize depressive symptoms and evidence which shows that the vagina absorbs a number of components of semen that can be detected in the bloodstream within a few hours of administration.
Wow. Boggling
It
to me.
is, but we also have to think about STIs. I mean, we have to think about that in
Right.
menopause.
You need to be in a committed long-term relationship in order to feel safe with that person enough to not use a condom.
Evidently, we have some research that semen, is a natural antidepressant. I would think that you would agree to this statement. Your brain responds to sex in all kinds of different ways.
Agreed.
Researchers at Rutgers University who used fMRI scanners to find out exactly what happens in your brain when you're aroused. It found that in identified female at birth, different regions of the brain became activated in response to stimulation of the vagina, cervix, clitoris, and nipples. So again, it goes back to an orgasm is an orgasm. Who cares where the stimulation came from on your body?
And how many women can actually have an orgasm from vaginal penetration only?
20% approximately.
So 1 out of 5 women.
We got to get that news out there. It's mandatory to stimulate the clitoris, and it's highly recommended to add the vibrator. All hysterical. So the last thing is sex and calories.
Like how many burn?
How many calories do you burn? Now this, mind you, this is 30 minutes of active sex.
I was going to ask you what okay, got it. 30 minutes. Active sex.
Because it counts as a workout.
How many people have sex that lasts 30 minutes? That's active for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Going at it hard.
Explored this. But in my experience only, in my 23 years as a therapist, when I ask straight couples how long sex tends to last for them from when they start kind of the first piece of it. So some start with making out, some start with rubbing each other over the clothes. What I hear is 15 to 20 minutes is their typical. Now, sometimes they have quickies, sometimes they have longer sexcapades, but kind of their average is 15 to 20 minutes. And when I work with lesbian couples, what do you think is the average that I hear in my office? So 15 to 20 for straight couples.
30 for lesbian couples.
45.
Ooh.
45 is the average that I hear.
Wow. Sounds like they're doing something right.
I think they're likely doing something right.
Yes.
We need to train a little bit of some of these straight men.
For sure.
Because oftentimes when the penis owner has an orgasm, sex wraps up.
Yeah.
And when women are with women, it isn't defined in that way. So the stimulation keeps going until both of them have some level of satisfaction and are both ready to wrap it up. We can burn 200 calories having sex for 30 minutes.
I can see that.
Let's see. How does that average to a walk? How many calories are burned per mile walking? On an average, a 150-pound person will burn about 100 calories per mile at a mild pace. And a 120-pound person burns about 85 calories per mile. I got to walk more?
Yes.
To burn more?
I mean, I know doing Pilates, and those classes are 50 minutes. The maximum I would burn in 50 minutes would probably be 200 calories.
So this is walking 2.5 miles. I don't know. I think that has to be one of those. We're super active. Our heart rate's up and we're sweaty. We can have lazy sex.
Well, of course.
And then we can have hot, intense, my legs are shaking. I have a foot cramp, taking the sheet maybe, or our arm just to wipe off the sweat from our brow. So you can walk 2.5 miles a day or have sex for 30 minutes a day to lose 200 calories.
Sounds like we should be having sex every day.
How about if I walk a mile and have 30 minutes of sex every day?
Sounds like you're going to be in great health.
Well, as that ties us all up into the benefits of sexercise and the reduced mortality of people that have sex 52 times a year, sounds like when you're having safe, smart sex, it can also save you.
Can save you from hysteria. Can help your headaches.
Yes. can be an antidepressant when when you have semen involved. We don't always have semen involved.
Correct. So why aren't we having more sex?
Well, I'm going to tell people to get out there and have consensual, safe, sane, caring, or respectful sex.
Yes.
We are wrapping up our fun sex fact podcast for today. Thank you so much, Rain, for coming in.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And co-hosting. The music for Tiffany Turned On is provided by Kumasi Afrobeat. If you're interested in more of their music, you can find them online at kumasiafrobeat.com. KUMASIAFROBEAT.com. They are New Orleans' full Afrobeat band. They play to make you move. If you liked what you heard in today's episode and you want to learn more about me, check out my website at neworleanssextherapy.com. I also have a TED Talk entitled I Love Pleasure from TEDx Vermilion Street. This is part 3 of the shocking sex facts. If you missed part 2, you really missed out in hearing about Norma Stitz. Her tits are 106 XXX, as well as hearing about Jonah Falcone and how large his penis actually is. Valid and important parts of our discussion in the second section was how sex can improve your health and save your life. Listen to part 3 for more fun and shocking facts.